The sun is coming out of an incredibly lucky and abundant loose trine to Jupiter, while the moon and Jupiter form a sextile. Lean into optimism. Sometimes things have to get worse before they can get better. Embody the energy of Aquarius and look for the seed of opportunity lurking within each perceived setback. If we apply degree astrology, 24 degrees, 12 times 2, or 2 complete rotations or cycles around the zodiacal wheel, is a Piscean degree, pointing us to the parade of planets in the late degrees of Pisces. Saturn, 18 degrees, that critical evil degree associated with health flare-ups and chronic health crises in the collective. North node of fate and destiny, 27 degrees Pisces. Neptune, 28 degrees Pisces. And at the beginning of February, to be returning to this point via its retrograde cycle, Venus, which is now 5 degrees Aries, still considered to be in conjunction. The 24th degree correlates with Jupiterian and Neptunian and Piscean themes. An increased need for spirituality and spiritual well-being, letting go of illusion and delusion, turning dreams into reality through consistent effort over time, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Purging unhealthy or toxic substances influences people and habits. 24 degrees especially relates to things that disappear or have disappeared on us in the past. I said it in my Lunar New Year video 2 weeks ago, but something that was once cut off, something that metaphorically died or disappeared, especially concerning past life soulmates, now can come back around for closure or possibly another chance. Stuff that has been unexplored, undiscovered, kept secret, or hidden from view, or done in the dark, behind the scenes, now comes to the surface in a dramatic, shocking, and surprising way. And if you stay tuned to the very end of the video, I included a section this time about mundane astrology, tying in current events to what's going on in the cosmos. I think you'll love it. 24 degrees relates to underrepresented and vulnerable populations, including but not limited to children, animals, the elderly, the immunocompromised, the sick, homeless people, war veterans, and immigrants, especially illegal ones, in 2025. It has to do with things that run away or escape, places of rest and refuge, including hospitals, churches, mental institutions, yoga retreats, isolated places like nunneries, monasteries, ashrams, cathedrals, churches, and temples. It relates to things that are not visible, such as diseases, medications, chemicals, ingredients, drugs, and poison. Things that are divine or spiritual in nature. It can include oil, gas, and gasoline, photos, photography, cinema, the arts, anything vague, obscure, cloudy, or unclear. The seas, oceans, rivers, water, drowning, sea fishermen, shipping, shipwrecks, and poisoning. Let's explore the Sabian Symbolism, beginning with the moon, 24 degrees Leo, rounding up to 25 degrees Leo. If you are following along with the Sabian symbols, a screen of prophecy, you can turn to page 174. A large camel crossing the desert. Theme, endurance. Keyword, adequacy. The symbol speaks to courage and personal endurance and the ability to overcome limitations and to come out on top of things. Here is a fearlessness based on experience and the ability to survive hardship. We have a sun in Aquarius, and Aquarius is a sign known for enduring sudden changes so that it can adapt and be more resilient. On a practical level, this may take the form of unrelenting persistence and refusal to give up until every possible means to achieve the goal has been exhausted. This is a do-it-yourself degree. The image of a large camel crossing the desert suggests self-sufficiency, or whatever is needed for survival lies within the individual themselves. This makes me think of my all-time favorite book, The Alchemist, the theme of which, the treasure you seek, lies within you the entire time. You already have all the tools you need to be successful and to actualize your full potential. You need only tap into them. The desert symbolizes an unforgiving environment that gives little in the way of sustainment. Therefore, the symbol implies a lack of outer assistance or cooperation. The camel is a beast of burden. I'm hearing Beast of Burden by Rolling Stones. Camels are used for traversing the rough, dry, hot terrain of the desert, and they store water. Let's explore the camel as a spirit totem. This is paraphrased from the Wild Unknown Pocket Animal Spirit Deck guidebook. The camel is resourceful, independent, and knows itself. The camel can handle absolutely anything, as it carries a wealth of nourishment within. This wonderful creature is self-reliant and handles challenges with ease, even in the face of excess heat and fire, which manifests as judgment or anger. The camel searches inside for the cool elixir of water to calm any situation. The camel represents the ultimate form of bringing opposites into balance, namely the elements of fire and water, which combine to form steam, and will tie right back into Mars, the planet of fire, in Cancer, cardinal or initiating water sign, retrograde, and being responsible for one's own reactions. The camel is a wonderful traveler and is especially fond of trips to faraway lands. Extra special considering that I wrote this while on a trip to Puerto Rico. When it's in balance, camel energy is content and has a sparkle in its eye. When it's out of balance, it feels dehydrated and lacks vitality. You can rebalance it by taking a trip or a pilgrimage. There is caution here to resist taking on the problems of others to the detriment of the self. At its highest, camel energy symbolizes tenacious perseverance, a tireless giving of self, and a remarkable ability to overcome difficulties. Watch for callous indifference to the needs of others and excessive self-interest and self-indulgence. The accent is on endurance, your ability to keep going in the face of hardship and limitation. Your ability to keep going in the face of hardship and limitation may be tested under this full Leo snow moon 2025. Your advantage lies in taking things one step at a time and keeping your eyes on the goal ahead. Believe in yourself, because you can do it. Sometimes before I practice singing, I repeat positive affirmations like, I can sing this song, and it really does help. Guard against the rough hood of others in the process of trying to accomplish your goals. On the other hand, don't overburden yourself by taking the responsibility and problems of others. Stepping stones include endurance, survival, fortitude, stamina, determination, self-containment, self-mobilization, persistence, perseverance, self-sufficiency, independence, and self-reliance. Let's add some details from the sun. 24 degrees Aquarius, rounding to 25 degrees Aquarius. A butterfly with the right wing more perfectly formed. Keyword equals uniqueness. Theme, the process of becoming, a transformation or a metamorphosis. This symbol speaks to a person's need for roots or security in their life, and to those things that represent stability and permanence, especially immovable assets like real estate. The image of a butterfly with the right wing more perfectly formed does not imply that the left or unconscious and subjective side is defective, but rather that there is a fuller development of the right or conscious and objective side. The emphasis in this degree is on using anomaly or difference to one's advantage. Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Are you a sheep blindly following the herd or a wolf bravely leading the pack? The butterfly is a universal symbol of metamorphosis, immortality, and spirit. Thus, this image is also a poetic illustration of the never-ending process of spiritual growth and transformation. Positive at its highest, this symbol represents ingenuity and a talent for creatively capitalizing on inadequacies and imperfections. The opportunity, your greatest advantage, lies on focusing on the meaning of things rather than on the things themselves. Look for the unexpected and special opportunities created when things do not go as planned. On the negative, exploitation of personal handicaps or a refusal to conform or cooperate as a result of believing that some self-perceived superiority entitled the individual to a special privilege and exemption. You're warned to watch out for entitlement, which can be a shadow component of Leo energy. Risk. Guard against being arbitrary or difficult to get along with. At the same time, don't sacrifice your individuality in an attempt to fit in with everyone else. Find balance between the two. Stepping stones, uniqueness, individuality, rarity, novelty, distinction, originality, style, abnormality, distinctiveness, prominence, variation, difference, consciousness. Uranus, 23 degrees Taurus, rounds to 24 degrees Taurus. a mounted Indian. The language is a bit outdated. They mean Native American, with scalped locks. Keyword, command. Theme, conquest. Today, the accent is on conquest and self-mastery. There's a chance that things could get aggressive today, and heads might roll. Now I'm hearing heads will roll by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Bonus points for the 8-Tracks remix. Positive, at its highest, the symbol represents self-discipline and mastery. Negative, tyranny, or a ruthless, off-with-their-heads approach to life, and an obsession with controlling the thoughts and minds of others. Risk, guard against losing your temper or being too controlling. Avoid power struggles. These power struggles often come from shadow expression of Mars, which we'll dig into a little bit deeper as we explore Mars, the Sabian symbol for Mars, and Mars retrograde through Cancer and Leo. Opportunity. Your greatest advantage lies in staying calm and exercising self-discipline. Stepping stones. Authority, control, power, dominion, leadership, superiority, command, mastery, skill, achievement, aggression, and headhunting. Expect the unexpected, with wild cards and curveballs being thrown under this full moon. The square exacts at 23 degrees Aquarius just before the full moon, which is a Uranian and Aquarian degree, amplified by Uranus recently stationing direct under the previous lunation, Lunar New Year and Aquarius New Moon. Other important components and aspects. Let's talk about Mars and Mars retrograde. Mars is still retrograde and therefore at its closest point to the Earth, amplifying its effects and symbolism. We've been dealing with Mars retrograde since mid-October, when Mars first entered its pre-retrograde shadow, right around where Mars is now, 17 degrees Cancer. Mars retrograde changing signs indicates a major change of heart or direction, especially for the divine masculine collective, ruled by Mars. On October 4th, 2024, Mars entered this pre-retrograde shadow, exactly 17 degrees, 1 arc minute of Cancer. This was around the time that Mars and Pluto made their first direct opposite pass to one another, at the critical 29th degree of their respective signs in the days preceding the United States presidential election. Mars dipped its toes into the early degrees of Leo prior to stationing retrograde, 6 degrees 10 arc minutes of Leo on December 6, 2024. Mars retrograde amplifies shadow Mars energy. Competition can be seen more than collaboration at this time, and that's to highlight the negative aspects of comparisonitis and competition, so that from the ashes of this, we can rebuild a more collaborative future. Shadow Mars also amplifies aggression, anger, and ambition. It brings karma to leadership, influencers, celebrities, and anyone in the top 2% who misuses their power, status, wealth, or influence, or demonstrates inflated ego. Leo. Mars in Cancer specifically can be emotionally reactive. It can bring domestic issues, shark attacks, protectiveness over home, assets, overall sense of security, and the homeland. Saturn and Neptune are heading into Aries, ruled by the planet of war, Mars. And Mars retrograde in Cancer, this could indicate a continued acceleration in global and current global conflicts and a potential draft on the horizon, because Cancer is the homeland. Mars in Cancer, like we said before, combines the elements to form steam, and is related to the Camel spirit totem. Mars is considered to be debilitated in Cancer. For one, Mars is a fire energy, and elementally speaking, fire and water do not mix well. This is one of the most challenging placements for Mars, with the potential to be equally rewarding once the energy is balanced and transmuted. Mars is considered to be debilitated in Cancer because it's opposite its sign of exaltation, Capricorn. Outside of the incredibly lucky and rare conjunction between Mars and the Moon, which I have in my natal chart, Mars and the Moon do not tend to function very harmoniously. The Moon ruling over Cancer energy deals with constant fluctuations. The Moon literally changes sizes and shape daily, as the fastest moving planetary body, traveling in and out of each sign every 2.5 days. The Moon and Cancer energy are feminine or yin by nature, and related to softness, passivity, and reception rather than pursuing a Mars nature. By direct contrast, Mars is assertive or aggressive instead of passive. Mars in Cancer can bestow a strong dualistic nature with a tendency toward passive aggression over assertion. There can be a heavy contradiction within this placement and a tendency toward emotional manipulation. This placement brings mother wounds and struggles with the mother to the forefront of our attention. It could include an abusive mother, or Stockholm Syndrome, family bonds that border or surpass enmeshment and bind too deeply at the expense of one's own autonomy and independence. This can also manifest as an ambiguous relationship with the mother. I'm a pretty good example of this. Although my natal Mars is in Gemini, it's tightly conjunct my natal moon, bestowing some of these Mars and Cancer traits. Although in my past my mother has been incredibly emotionally and verbally abusive, I am still quite loyal to her to an extent and sometimes to a fault. Although I am well aware of her flaws and refuse to enable her, I fight tooth and nail to protect her if anyone gives her trouble. I am constantly met with judgmental, invalidating comments by others. But she's your mother. You only have one mother. And at least you have a mother. Mine isn't alive. I don't think people realize how invalidating these comments can be. And this is simply for having boundaries and for having enough self-respect to cut her off the moment her communication style becomes unhealthy, toxic, or abusive. Mars in Cancer can indicate family land or homes that have become a burden. Perhaps your mother leaves you, your home, but has allowed it to fall into a state of complete disrepair, beyond the point of it being a profitable inheritance, such as will likely be the case for me. This can manifest as immense nostalgia or emotional debts or obligations from a childhood of pain and suffering that later become powerful assets on our path. Mars in Cancer and Mars transits through Cancer are common with themes of familial estrangement and healing one's ancestral lines of karma. Now I'm hearing The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. Mars in Cancer, especially around the heart of Cancer where this retrograde cycle ends, 14 degrees Cancer to be specific, is where fixed star Sirius is located, common in the charts of people, including myself, where my midheaven falls, who are either estranged from their own parents and or siblings, or who will become estranged from their own children at some point in their lives. This can also manifest as children estranging themselves, as it did in my case. This is because the Mars in Cancer, or in my case, Moon conjunct Mars, person, seems to activate and expose hidden, repressed ancestral karma in order to bring it to the light of consciousness for healing and transmutation, which can be uncomfortable for the rest of the family that feels content in sweeping things under the rug and avoiding it. Abandonment and rejection wounding is a big theme whenever Mars is in Cancer. Mars in Cancer can bring pain and suffering from childhood that can later be transmuted and used as an impetus that inspires and moves people forward in life. I use it every day in my healing work. Cancer as a cardinal water sign is emotionally deep and sensitive. Symbolized by the crab, it has a hard exoskeleton protecting a very vulnerable, soft, sensitive interior. It has two claws that pinch, reactively, symbolizing Cancer's tendency to take things personally, its nostalgic nature, and tendency to hold on to emotions, especially negative ones, like resentment, betrayal, for far longer than is necessary or healthy. Cancer is tied to the 4th house of the natal chart, the bottom of the chart where we have our nadir, or our IC, representing who we are to our core on a deep, personal, and private level, the parts of self we only show to someone once they have gotten to know us slowly over time. Whenever Mars transits Cancer, it brings the focus of our attention to our home and family, and not to security. Because Cancer relates to our resources and possessions, there can be attacks or threats to our homes and or cars. Watch for vehicular accidents, driving under the influence, falling asleep behind the wheel, etc. Triggers may arise relating to our relationship with our parents, our personal parental aspirations, and our individual ability to parent. So Mars has aspected several fixed stars through the course of its retrograde from mid-October to May, beginning around the supergalactic South Pole, which is located near Alpha and Gamma Canis Major. Sirius, 14 degrees Cancer, aka Alpha Canis Major, the brightest star in our galaxy, the nose of the dog, the scorcher, or fever bringer, or shining one. It's seen as a difficult star in most cultures as it's associated with fevers, plagues, and disease, often heat and drought, aka the dog days of summer, which occurs when the sun conjoins this part of the sky in July. Ancient Egyptians saw it as a benefic as its rising coincided with the rising of the river Nile. The energy is protective but also dangerous. Wasat, located 18 degrees 48 arc minutes of Cancer, is located at the waist or elbow of Pollux, and it can be prone to sorrow, loss of position, exile, and legal problems. It's interesting to note that Uranus was discovered near this star in 1781, the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius. This star can exaggerate ambition and competition, especially considering Mars is activating it by conjunction, which rules our ambition. Next we have Castor, 20 degrees 31 arc minutes of Cancer. Equus, the horseman, the north twin, the mortal son of Tyndaris and Leda, symbolizes horses, intellectual writing and law, success, and creativity that flows unobstructed. We have Adhara, 21 degrees Cancer, aka Epsilon Canis Major, which is protective, charismatic, and defensive. Pollux, which is located 23 degrees 30 arc minutes of Cancer, aka Beta Gemini, the south twin. Pollux was the immortal son of Zeus and Leda, cruel and tyrannical, crafty, cunning, and audacious, experiencing constant struggle, being deceived or tricked, possibly manipulating others, and could indicate gallbladder or stomach problems. This brings hidden information to light and allows for overcoming indecision. Next we have Procyon, 26 degrees Cancer, aka Alpha Canis Minor, from Greek Procyon. Before the great dog, located north of Canis Major, a dim, weeping sister left in tears. When Sister Sirius and brother Orion fled south across the river, aka the Milky Way, this can be a hasty, jealous, stubborn energy, and it can bring sudden, rapid changes, but also fleeting success. Watch for being mouthy and having a hot temper. Mars retrograde begins and ends in early Leo, featuring Praecipe, 7 degrees Leo, coming from Latin for crib or manger, the crab nebula or beehive, the manger of the Acili, brings infectious disease, miscarriage, and increased entrepreneurial focus. Then we have Acellus borealis and Acellus australis, 7.5 degrees Leo and 9 degrees Leo respectively, the latter of which brings unfair accusations, oversensitivity to criticism, burns, fevers, fires, and falls from grace. It is impotent for violent death, including assassinations. It can be rash, impulsive, controversial, and pushy. Mars remains out of bounds until April 7th and will not leave its post-retrograde shadow until May 6th, so we'll continue to feel this out-of-control Mars energy until then. Days after Mars stations direct, on February 23rd, 2025, 17 degrees, 1 arc minute of Cancer, Venus and Mercury both station retrograde. Thankfully, they're not all retrograde at the same time. We'll talk about this more in the future, but very quickly, Venus and Mercury will be retrograding simultaneously, and with Venus changing signs from Aries and Pisces, where she's not only exalted, but conjoining Neptune and the North Node of Fate and Destiny. Venus retrograde on the Aries-Pisces cusp, March to April 2025. Venus retrograde changing signs indicates a major change of heart or direction for the divine feminine collective, the yin parts of self. Venus aligns with Neptune, the North Node of Fate and Destiny, and Saturn. The exact alignment was a seeding opportunity and already occurred back at the beginning of February, so we'll be retracing our steps with Saturn and Neptune, both soon to be in Aries together for the first time since the early 1700s. On January 28th, 2025, Venus entered its pre-retrograde shadow, 24 degrees 37 arc minutes of Pisces. So we've already been presented with breadcrumbs of what's to come. On March 1st, 2025, Venus will station retrograde, 10 degrees, 50 arc minutes of Aries, bringing us back to the total solar eclipse in Aries last year, April 8th, 2024. On April 12th, 2025, Venus stations direct, 24 degrees, 37 arc minutes of Pisces. And on May 16th, 2025, Venus will exit its post-retrograde shadow, 10 degrees, 50 arc minutes of Aries. On March 18th, 2025, Mercury enters the retrograde zone, pre-retrograde shadow, 15 degrees, 59 arc minutes of Aries. On April 1st, 2025, Mercury stations and turns retrograde, 27 degrees, 13 arc minutes of Aries. On April 25th, Mercury will station and turn direct, again, 15 degrees, 59 arc minutes of Aries. And finally, on May 13th, 2025, Mercury will leave its post-retrograde shadow zone, 27 degrees, 13 arc minutes Aries, and will proceed into Taurus. Thank you for watching. If you're still with me, you're a real one. Drop your current most used emoji in the comments. If you took anything away from this video, we ask that you like, comment, share the content, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, we know that you'll enjoy the full playlist and this additional video. Thank you so much, love you, and see you soon.